Every year, an estimated 10 million people experience domestic violence. That's according to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. In Missouri, like many states, more than 40% of women experience domestic violence. I'm Lisa Olligus, and this is Newsmakers. In our community, one organization has been providing shelter for victims and programs to address the problems and impacts of domestic violence for years. Lafayette House. In this edition, we'll talk with Lafayette House leadership about the organization, its mission, and an upcoming annual fundraiser called Ooh La Lafayette. We begin our conversation with Lafayette House Executive Director Susan Hickam. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So at least 1 in 3 women will experience sexual assault or domestic violence at some point in their lives. Are the statistics getting worse, or is it that we have more of a response, more people willing to talk about this?
I think that we're having more of a response of people wanting to talk about it. We're really advocating in our communities, not just locally, but nationally. So we're really opening that conversation. And honestly, we're really trying to make a lot more efforts with prevention and have these conversations younger with our students, with our children, so that they can identify healthy relationships.
I mean, sometimes negative relationships begin as early as high school or even sooner.
Well, even sooner. So something that we also consider when we consider those statistics is your children's exposure to domestic violence. So oftentimes, that can be taken into the statistics, but children are witnessing what is happening between parents or what is happening between siblings. So we really want to make sure that we're looking at that too.
Yeah, we often model what we've seen. Unfortunately, in some cases, it's not a positive thing.
It's not a positive thing, and I can't look at any child and say this child is going to be a victim or an abuser. The point is how can I help them to have a healthy relationship, acknowledge where they are, and move forward in the healthiest way possible.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Joplin shelter. How many people do you serve each year as an emergency shelter? And what does that provide for those who might not be aware?
So probably over 600 people a year that we serve in just our emergency shelter, or at least in our domestic violence program. Let me go ahead and say that. And that includes men, women, and children. So we have a lot of services. Most everything starts with our 24-hour hotline. And so that is answered all day, every day of the year. And that's really a huge part of this component. It's a real way for anyone who is in any emergency need to reach us, no matter the time of day.
So if someone's trying to escape in the middle of the night, give us an idea of what happens if they call that hotline and say, I need someplace to go.
Then we're going to talk to them about what is happening right now. So we want to talk to them about what's happening right now, what are you experiencing, we're identifying what are their safety issues, because also somebody coming to us, especially in the middle of the night, we have to address our safety issues. So we're going to talk to them about safe practices, how to get to us safely. Do they have other things in their immediate area that can be of safety to them? And also, we always encourage, calling the police department if that is going to be what immediately helps you to be safe.
Sure. That includes on-site licensed child care. How important is that for women trying to get out of an abusive situation?
To be able to provide any kind of child care for our clients, to have that not be a barrier. So whether that looks like childcare or babysitting, whatever we can do to impact that, and whether it's with us or into another community, because we don't know what might be safe for someone. So just being able to ensure our clients that we can overcome barriers and we can meet some needs immediately or long term.
And when you say a barrier, might some woman not leave an abusive relationship because she doesn't know how she would take care of her children?
She doesn't know how she will take care of her children. She may, financial resources, all of those things could have been kept from her. She doesn't feel that she has those skills. How am I going to move forward in the future? But there's a lot of things that what we need to really impact with our community is that when a person decides to leave a domestic violence situation, they're at the highest risk of death or serious bodily injury. And then after that, stalking can occur for up to 2.5 years. Another important piece that we try to really give to our clients is that, especially when you come to us with children, even though you feel safe and even though we're going to move you into independence and empowerment, those are the things we want to give you, We also want to educate you on how can you be helpful to your children, and that includes checking your children's credit report. So when you think about stalking occurring for 2.5 years after that, when your abuser has had access to their child's social security numbers and date of birth, there's a real threat of harming everyone continuously, even through credits.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about the different kinds of abuse, because it's not just physical, sometimes it's sexual. Sometimes, what are the various kinds of abuse that a woman might need to leave, or even a man, if it can't happen in the other extreme?
Absolutely. So obviously physical abuse, and that, has a very wide range, but you're talking about mental and emotional abuse. So oftentimes you will hear victims who say, I would almost rather he hit me because I know it will be over. Because that physical, or abuse kind of has an end, but it's the mental and the emotional, that psychological abuse that can continue and be so damaging. But you also have the use of children in abuse. So maybe it's not letting your victim go to the store without a child because that child will come home and tell. It's financial abuse. That is a large part. So making sure that the victim doesn't have access to finances, making sure that they don't have the skills to take care of themselves, those kind of things, or even if they do. And empowering somebody to understand that is that that gaslighting that an abuser will do to make sure that the victim thinks that they can do nothing.
Women might leave an abusive household taking very little with them. They can need clothes for them and their children. How do donations help with that?
So it is very important for us to have some donation opportunities. We have a lot of things that we keep on site at Lafayette House as well, because what we want to do is we want to address their immediate needs. We want to look for opportunities moving forward that helps them to meet all needs. So they may come to us and have nothing. We want to be able to provide for that, but as they grow in independence and empowerment, we want to help them. Are you going on a job interview? How can we help you have the things appropriate for what you need to move forward? We do have a work experience program, so we do have an opportunity to help our clients. We used to think of our work experience program as a skill building, but what we've really recognized is that we're giving a person an opportunity to understand what it's like to have a job. So how do you interview for a job? How do you have work as a team? How do you show up on time? There's so many things around our work experience program that we can help somebody to build their confidence moving forward so that they understand that this isn't just about how do I build one particular skill, but how do I enter the workforce?
You have case management as well. What are some other ways that you work on with victims to get them sort of financially on their feet? Do they sometimes need to learn budgeting, or are there other programs like that?
So our case managers work tirelessly with our victims to have them understand all the things surrounding what it is to be independent. It's a scary something, but oftentimes what happens is we can look at what a person has been through. So for example, I worked with a client at one point who talked to us about she did not know how to budget. And I had remembered that she had told me that she had to feed a family of 4 on $100 a week. And I said, did you do that? And she said, yes, I did. And I said, why? And she said, because I had to, I had no choice. And I said, so you do know how to budget. Let's look at what that meant to you. Unfortunately, we took your situation of abuse and we could pull out the pieces of it that was truly a learning experience that we could give to her moving forward and show her how she already had a skill. She just didn't have a name for it yet.
Yeah. Well, we're going to dive into various therapies and counseling, including substance abuse, that they have available at Lafayette House next. And we're going to take a break. And as we do, we hear one man's experience at Lafayette House in Neosho.
I got interviewed while I was in jail to do treatment court, and Alyssa told me I was going to do my groups at Lafayette House in Neosho. I knew of Lafayette House as a place for women seeking shelter from abusive relationships. I didn't know they had ties in with recovery. Something that stuck with me pretty hard is the ones who stay sober are the ones who are truly grateful for their recovery. they're a gift from God. There's no way around that. Like, I've never seen a group of people so compassionate about helping other people. I wholeheartedly appreciate it. I think about Lafayette House, like, probably on a daily basis. The part that they have in my recovery, the part that they hold in my heart, it's solid.
Lafayette House is more than a domestic violence shelter. Joining us again to talk about its many services is Executive Director Susan Hickam. Many people might be like the gentleman in that video, not knowing all the ways Lafayette House is working to help families. You even have a place in Neosho. He went for substance abuse treatment. Why is substance abuse treatment so important for all involved in these situations? I mean, can it be a problem, have a role in domestic violence?
Oh, very much so. So we introduced substance use treatment program into our facility many, many years ago. And I'm just very proud of the people who really had the forethought to look at that. Because really now, nationally, we're having a lot of discussions about the intersection between domestic and sexual violence and substance use disorders. But really, when you think about all three of those things and the impact that Lafayette House can have on every single family in our community, for me, that's an amazing thing. Domestic violence has a component. Oftentimes people see that drugs or alcohol may be part of the abuse. And what people need to understand is drugs and alcohol do not cause abuse. It's just a factor that happens to be present. We also understand that people who are in substance use situations may be experiencing domestic or sexual violence, but just haven't recognized it for what it is because of their use. And why are they using? So are they using because they're healing or they're trying to mask the effects of domestic or sexual violence? It could be part of their forced use. There's so many different reasons why somebody is in substance use, and what we want to do is we want to find the reasoning behind it. We want to dig deep and really understand why somebody is in substance use disorders and help them to overcome substance use disorders, but also recognizing that the entire family is affected, and we want to help everyone heal.
Yeah. He mentioned treatment courts. So do you have a relationship with treatment courts? Do you get many folks from that sort of, I guess, that route to getting help with you?
We do. We have a wonderful relationship with Jasper, McDonald, and Newton County treatment courts. So we are very active with the treatment courts, and so we see a lot of people through that program, and that's really, truly a powerful way for us to impact so many of our communities. But also it shows where, this impact for men and how we can help as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people assume Lafayette House is all about women.
Correct.
But the whole family.
The whole family.
So let's talk about the therapies and treatments you have, because you even have things for children.
We do. We do have an on-site children's therapist, so she can work directly with the children and what they are experiencing in their families. And then our hope is also to be able to provide that wraparound services. So not just for the person who is a client of ours, but that entire family, and how can we engage everyone in their recovery.
Does having the child care on site make it easier for children to be part of that therapy model?
It does, and it provides a safe space for our children. We are looking for ways to really impact that, but we also want to make sure that we are growing our clients into not needing us. So we want to be able to give them opportunities on site, but what does that look like going forward? So we're always trying to help them to look to the future. And so we want to be able to provide a service for now, but how do we help them get services later on?
And how does that model of maybe the treatment courts be sort of prevention as well? And when we're talking about these, they are families. Is reunification sometimes an option, or you talked about empowering people to be independent? So how do you find the balance between those two? Is that part of the case management?
It sure can be. So there, a lot of times we will have courts involved in those types of things, and you're looking at that reunification. However, we also want to make sure that we're addressing, if it is regarding domestic and sexual violence, reunification may not be the answer, and more than likely is not, but when it is focused on substance use disorders, what do we do to heal the whole family? So treatment court is definitely a part of that, but really just it is self-awareness and acknowledgement and asking for the assistance and allowing us to be a part of that.
So let's talk a little bit about case management. What are the kinds of goals that you do typically set for the folks who come as clients?
We want to look at each individual and make sure that we are addressing their needs where they are at right now. So that may be simple things like helping them to get their birth certificate copies. So helping them to establish an ID. So sometimes they'll come to us. They may have driver's license that are expired. We want to help them to acknowledge that if they have certain things that may be involving the courts, like speeding tickets, how do we go ahead and get those things taken care of? So that's not a barrier to anything that you may want to do in the future. Is education something that somebody needs to finish? GED or anything moving forward? How can we help you with that? What are some employment opportunities and job skills and resume building? Those types of things. So they're working with that client to see what they have and what they're missing and how can we help meet those needs.
So a lot of these things are helping someone to get back on their feet. What is the average length of stay for someone at the shelter or working with you? Or do they also maybe possibly move back out of the shelter but still work with you on programs?
Oh yes, most definitely. And that is a hope because we understand it is a process. So being in shelter or being in our residential substance use program doesn't really have a time frame. It needs to be what is best for them.
Sure.
So oftentimes 3 weeks, 30 days, you see a lot about that, but honestly it depends on that person and how long they need us. And we even have clients who may have to go from one program to the next, all on one place, and so we're looking at how we can help them with that. So there is no time limit. We just need it to meet their needs, and when they're ready to move forward, we want to help them do that.
All right, thanks for all the information, Susan Hickam. All those programs take funding. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will learn all about the upcoming fundraiser, Ooh La Lafayette, from the Chief Development Officer. As we go to break, one woman's story of the help that she and her newborn baby received from Lafayette House.
Well, it was my baby's first home. I came here when Jude was 2 days old, out of the hospital. 2 days later, I knew that I wanted to be his mom. I knew that I didn't really have a leg to stand on, but I knew more than anything that I wanted to try, and that's what brought me here. So I had my son. I wouldn't even open my eyes, wouldn't open them because I was scared. And my stepmom, she whispered in my ear and she said, you have to look at him at least one time. And I looked at him, and everything in me that was empty, everything I had been searching for the first time in my life, I got to experience what love was. It started in 2013. I did inpatient here. It was my baby's first home. We graduated inpatient and went straight to outpatient, and we're Newton County Newborn Drug Court there in Neosho. I've been with Kelly since 2013. Not only have I came for different services as far as domestic violence, drug abuse, but I've just been here for even trauma and just needing extra support in my life. Of course, social services stepped in. I did have to leave him over at the hospital over at Freeman. And I remember standing there with my dad and my stepmom, and I remember standing over my son, and I just remember praying, that whatever God had in store for us, that it was going to be okay. I knew in my heart it was going to be okay, whatever it looked like. I wasn't really sure, but I knew more than anything I just had to try. So we left the hospital that day, and I asked my dad, I said, Dad, I want you to drop me off at Connor. And his jaw just dropped. He was like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? He's like, where are you going now? And I'm like, I want you to drop me off at Lafayette House. I'm like, I don't care if they have a bed for me. I don't know what this looks like. I had already tried to contact somebody, But I was just like, I know that I'm not leaving there, and I know if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do this.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. Lafayette House makes such an impact and offers so many services to the community, but those take funding to provide. To discuss that and an upcoming fundraiser, we're joined by Chelsea Conley, the Lafayette House Chief Development Officer. Welcome, Chelsea.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So it is a busy time, I know, as you're preparing for Ooh La Lafayette. It's an annual fundraiser. Tell us about this year's plan, which I think there's a little bit of disco involved.
Yes, there is. So when we were brainstorming ideas for the theme for this year's event, we really want to focus on the success and where our clients end up after they've left Lafayette House. And so that's bold and bright, and we thought, okay, let's have a disco garden party. Why not? Bold, bright colors, lots of shiny sequins. And so that's where it came. And we have taken the vision of Ooh La Lafayette and really tried to focus on clients and the story of Jody with her son, and how can we talk about that more and really focus on the success of our clients after they leave Lafayette House.
Exactly. So you have a fashion show and a purse auction. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so the fashion show is with local retailers, and then they'll each have some models. So that'll be part of the fashion show event. And then we also have a silent auction of purses. So that includes used and new. And that's all online. So everything is available to anybody, regardless of whether they purchase a ticket or not. So keep an eye out on our Facebook page to see how you can be involved with that silent auction. So giving back even without having to necessarily purchase a ticket.
Yeah, so when I've looked at photos before, people get often glitzed up. Is there a dress code, or can people come 70s style?
Yeah, so there is not necessarily a dress code. We kind of pride ourselves in that with come as you are, whether you're coming straight for work, or you want to wear jeans, or you want to dress up, whatever that looks like for you, we want you to feel welcome at our event. But if you want to dress as the theme, so that could be disco or it could be garden. So bold, bright colors, flowers. If you want to go the 70s disco theme, that's great too. I think we'll see a little bit of all of it.
Yeah. This is the 15th year for this event. How has it grown? And I mean, like that online aspect, how does that help make it a broader, wider event as a fundraiser?
Sure, yeah. So we actually have another event that is a part of the fashion show. It's called the Alcove. So we have the fashion show and the Alcove, two separate spaces, but one night, all at Downstream. And so through that, we can reach nearly 630 guests through both of those events. But what if you don't necessarily want to attend an event? You just want to be able to participate. And so that's where we went online, and it has been huge because our reach is wider than just that 630. So we're excited to be able to offer that to the community. Of course, we want you to be there. We want you to hear the message from our executive director, Susan, and from Jody. Her story is incredible. So we have a lot of things planned for this year's event, so we want you to be in person. But also, bidding online is great too.
Yeah, you can sit there and watch it all night.
That's
not
right.
Get distracted.
Yeah.
How significant is an event like this to your budget and funding these programs?
Yeah, this is our sole annual fundraising event. And so our goal this year is $200,000. And so that is what fuels us for the entire year. And of course, we have grants and state and federal contracts. Those are so important as well.
Right.
But those are our private donors. And so this is the one big time of the year that they can come to an event, hear about what we're doing directly from our clients, but then also be a part of something. Just bringing that awareness is huge in our community. As you can tell, Lafayette House has a ton of services and provides a lot to our community. And so being able to be at that event just helps bring that awareness to what it is that we do in our town.
Yeah. Donations are tax deductible, and as a domestic violence shelter, there's even a special tax credit. Can you explain that for us? And I know it's on your website too, so
Yeah.
people might look there to get the full explanation, but how does this work?
Yeah, so the domestic violence shelter and rape crisis tax credit is through the state of Missouri, and it offers 70% tax credit to every donation over $100. So that's significant, and it's really, to make it simple, it's really like a gift card. So you make the donation and the state sends you a letter, and whenever you file your taxes, you submit that letter with your taxes and it deducts that credit from your state. So liability. So it's a huge asset. We're really thankful to be able to offer that to our community. So any way that we can share that, send that message out to people, encourage them that they can get 70% off their state tax is huge. So we're really thankful to be able to offer that.
That's excellent. So what are the, you mentioned grants, what are the other revenue streams for Lafayette House?
Those are our main sources of revenue. So private donations, but then state and federal contracts, grants, those are three big ones. But private donations are huge too. And as we're seeing state and federal contracts decrease, our private donations are going to have to increase. So the importance of those is just growing year after year.
Yeah. So tell us more about Ooh La La Lafayette. Do you have any specific big sponsors for this event? When and where is it all taking place?
Yeah, so Mercy is our number one sponsor. We call them the Champions of Change sponsor. And so we're really thankful to have them on board. We have a variety of other sponsors. There's a ton of organizations and individuals who have stepped up. We are still accepting sponsorships, so they can reach out to me for information on that, or through our website. There's all that on there as well. The event is Thursday, April 3rd, so it's coming up really soon, 6 o'clock at Downstream. Like I said, we have the Alcove, which is a more relaxed environment where we'll have a putting contest, there's live music, all sorts of fun over there. And then we also have the fashion show. It's in the pavilion at Downstream. It is a little more elegant, and that's the traditional event that people have remembered through Ooh La Lafayette for years. So that one's been fairly steady through the 15 years. So
how do they get tickets?
Yeah, online through our website, LafayetteHouse.org is a great spot where they can find out about all of our services, but then also head to the event website, and that'll give them all the details about that. Tickets are $125 each, and that gets you all of the pieces of the event and to really hear the impact of what their donation is going towards when they're involved with Lafayette House. And so we encourage people to attend just to know how important they are as a donor and supporter, but also how important Lafayette House is for our community.
Yeah. It is important for the community. Thank you for all you do, and good luck with Ooh La La Lafayette.
Thanks, Lisa.
That wraps up this edition of Newsmakers. Thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching.